Hi everyone. So today's demo will take you through how we mitigate vendor risk with Docusign and SAP Ariba. To start off, we would imagine that a contract workspace would be created in Ariba. From here, there's two options. We can trigger from directly in Ariba, or we can trigger from CLM. In this demo, I'll be triggering from CLM. The first thing I'm going to do is enter the CW number, and then I'm going to select my agreement type and click next. In this scenario, the CW number will be used as the unique identifier to query the contract workspace to pull in all related document data that we can use to therefore generate our agreement. What's happening now is the two systems are in contact with each other, and we're using the Ariba connector to identify the designated data points that we will then use to see for CLM. At this stage, now that we can see all of my data has pulled in from Ariba, we can see everything has been pre-populated here. But of course, with CLM, we do have the flexibility to change and edit these fields if we need to, and then push that data back to Ariba after the fact. At this point, I've got all of my data pulled through. Some of it we make not editable, so the source of truth remains Ariba in this scenario. And what's happening now is all of those fields will now be inserted into my agreement. So here we can see key things like my supplier name, my governing law, my payment terms that I just edited have all now been inserted into my master services agreement. At this point, what will happen is we expect there'll be a little bit of back and forth between parties. So between your supplier, between yourself, the contract will route back and forth a couple times. And then from there, where we're at now is the agreement has now been negotiated. We can see here there's quite a few red lines that have happened to this agreement. And what we're going to use in this demo is CLM Plus to show the risk of this agreement. Here we can see that I'm running my third-party risk management scorecard, and I can see here that it's flagging up that yes, there is actually one high risk clause within this agreement. So immediately your sourcing users or your legal users, whoever it may be, is immediately empowered to make a decision. Okay, there is one high risk. We don't really deal with New Jersey. I need to update that, or I need to add a comment and escalate it to some other part of the business for approval. In this scenario, we're going to get legal involved, and legal will then either approve or potentially reject this language depending on what falls into their remit. At this time, again, we expect a little bit of back and forth between the supplier and the sourcing manager. At this point, then, we assume that our agreement is ready for execution, and we're going to just take one final step before signature, and that will be to review our Ariba details. This point, we really use this to true up the data. So a lot of times when we're negotiating agreements, there's some key data points that may become out of sync, such as the term type, the effective date, or the expiration date. And that really can be due to negotiations. At this point, we're taking this opportunity to manually update that data, and then this is going to push back to Ariba to make sure that your CW record, your contract workspace record, is in sync at all times with Docusign CLM. Then I'm going to hit complete. And what will happen now is all that data that I just inserted will be pushed back to Ariba. Again, there are a lot of other possibilities that sit outside the remit of this demo, such as pushing the executed agreement back to Ariba, and other things like that can all be used to enhance your experience. If there are any queries, please reach out.